few months shy of my 40th birthday, my husband had an affair with a family friend. The how and the why of the affair are important, but the part I want to focus on today is how witnessing my mother's reactions to betrayal and infidelity when I was a child informed my choices during the months that followed. Sharing what it means to have someone you love and trust hurt your heart in such a profoundly deep manner isn't easy. When I do, I find out that this pain isn't unique to me. My mother married my father when she was 19. Within 6 years, she had 5 children under the age of 5, 2 in 1 year. And then me 8 years later. When I was born, my parents were already in the end stages of their marriage. Things were falling apart because of my father's drug and alcohol abuse, explosive temper, and developing criminal life. I grew up experiencing a family in crisis. I didn't know what it was like to be part of a family that showed love and caring toward each other. My father was a handsome, charismatic man. Everyone wanted to be with him. Rolling in the freedom of the 60s, trapped with the life of a 50s man, family, and all that that entailed. And while my father roamed, gone for days at a time, my mother was left to deal with 5 teenagers and me, a curious and theatrical kindergartner. My mother gave up her dream of going to business school when she married. Instead, she stayed home and had babies. With my father's absence, she was forced to find a job to pay the bills, feed us, and keep a roof over our heads. She was miserable. Her sad and lonely isolation during that time defined what I didn't want the emotional outcome of my husband's affair to be: a struggle to survive with little incentive to live. In the first few days after finding out about the affair, it helped me to focus on what I wanted for my children, how I wanted to shape their view of me as a mother, a wife, a woman, a person. I saw value in allowing them to see what it looks like to face emotional pain and still keep going. So I made the decision to hold on emotionally, physically, and spiritually. I knew my husband's affair had little to do with me and everything to do with his inability to see beyond the seduction of a chance. I also knew that unlike my mother and father, there was more to our story. We were safe. Staying was a choice that made sense. The first thing I did was put my husband in charge of the children. I weaned my almost 3-year-old son, and I went on a week-long vacation by myself. I had been pregnant or nursing for 8 years. My body available to all, little energy for myself. As a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, becoming a mother had extra layers to it. I had lost myself in a different form of coping. I had to deal with this new layer of trauma, re-inhabit my life, and through it all, I had to remember that the man I was married to was not my father, and I was not my mother. I chose to believe his love for me and our children could be trusted despite the pain that he had caused. Motherhood and betrayal is an incredibly hard and complicated combination. The next thing I did was talk about it to anyone who would listen. I didn't hide behind the pain, I didn't hide the confusion, and I didn't hide the anger. Through it all, I was steadfast in my decision to remain in a partnership with my husband. I mean, really, there was no way around it. We had kids, we were permanently bound to each other, whether we stayed married or not, and the truth is, I still liked him. My friends didn't always understand, but they stayed, holding us as we worked it out. I also decided to return to school. I had failed out of college a few times in my early 20s, my childhood bubbling to the surface and getting in the way until I was forced to spend time and energy to give it a place of its own. Unlike my mother, I have inhabited my life, used the struggle and pain to reconnect to my dreams and living. I'm still married. I like my husband most of the time. I like my children most of the time. And I work on loving myself all of the time. I fantasize about leaving, never having to face the awful pain of being hurt by someone who should be a shield. My children know that their father lied to me one time so badly that I still get angry at him. They know that loving and hating are often so similar, it's hard to tell them apart. Most of all, they know that I'm a person. I love, I feel pain, and I care. My mother thought that the hurt was the end of the story. I hold the hurt, and I continue the story with my family, and with just enough love to try again tomorrow. Thank you.